All right. Good morning, good evening. I am Mindmore, and this is a course on applied energistics. This is going to be part 3. We're going to be looking at wireless tech right now, and we're going to be looking at the quantum dimensional, taking your network wherever you want, right? So, what you need? Let's go in here. Let's go at applied. All right. So you need First of all, you need singularities. Okay. You're going to need to prepare those beforehand because they take quite a long time to get. Quite a long time. Right. And that's even if you don't have acceleration cards in your matter condenser. Okay. So they're going to take a long time. So you're going to want to start this when you get to about midway point of your AE system. Right. And then you're going to start having that ability to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bookmark this and this. Okay, we're going to get rid of these two here. We're going to need the quantum ring and the quantum link chamber. Okay, and we're going to need the matter condenser. Where's the matter condenser? Right there. Okay, so let me make sure that I don't think I'm there. Okay, good. All right, so the matter condenser is very easy to make. You can make this very early on. You just need a little bit of flux dust, some regular glass, and some iron. Okay, once you make that, you will get a machine like this or a block like this, right? It's very simple. It does one of three things. Okay. A, you can destroy items. Okay. You just feed them in there and it just destroys them. So if you've got something, a bulk of something that you really don't need, you can just feed them into there and it will just destroy them. Okay. 2, you can set it to ME condenser, which will condense the matter. So whatever you're throwing into it into matter balls. You will need matter balls at some point for if you want to do I think it's the paint balls here. Use the matter balls. Yeah, the paint balls do that. And you can use that to paint your machines or your cables or whatever else you want, right? There is another use for it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. We'll figure that out at some point, right? But anyways, so the second use is to make matter balls. You need a 1 kilobyte or 1K ME storage component inside for it to actually start working. Otherwise, it won't do anything. So you need a 1K in there, and that'll start, and it counts up to 256 items, and then it gives you a matter ball, right? We're just about to go there, and you'll see it flicker and flash here. There you go. And then it gets pulled back into our system, okay? Because I've got it set up with importers and exporters. The second one is to make singularities, okay? You need 250,000 items, 250,000 of whatever. So whether it be seeds or cobblestone or deep slate or water, it really doesn't matter what you use, but you just need 256,000 items and then you will get a singularity. So it's quite slow. I've got this thing full of acceleration cards, which double the speed of things getting put into it, or triple the speed or something. I don't know, but it's doing like 100 at a time now, 100 items at a time, which is a lot. Okay, and to use that in the matter condenser, you need a 64K ME storage component. Okay, those ones are a little bit more advanced. Okay, so the 64. So the 1K, if you're looking at it, just requires a little bit of redstone and a couple Certus quartz and a logic processor. Whereas the 64K requires glowstone calculation plus 3 16s. Okay, the 16s require 3 4Ks, and the 4Ks require 3 1Ks, right? So that's quite a bit more resources that you're going to need at that point. So it's going to take a while to get to that, but do that as soon as you can because you will need these singularities if you're going to be using any of the quantum stuff. Okay. So, wireless. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take out this wireless booster, okay, because that's the second part of this. All right, so here, we'll bookmark the booster. We'll bookmark the wireless receiver, and we'll bookmark the wireless. Where is it? Right there, access point. Okay, so the wireless access point is fairly simple to make. You need a wireless receiver, a calculation processor, and a flux glass cable. At this point, you should already have these two with no problems. Okay, making the wireless receiver. Okay, that requires a fluix pearl. Okay, and a little bit of iron and some quartz fiber. These ones you should have. The flux pearl is just flux crystals, flux dust, and ender pearl. So just make sure you have an ender pearl, or you know where an enderman is to go kill, right? So once you've got all that, you can make the wireless access point. Okay, and you can use auto crafting to make all of that too, right? In our system, we have that. So if I wanted to make another wireless access point, I can just hit one. It knows all the stuff because I've given it the recipes, like we went off in the last course. And we just hit start and give it a few seconds, and boom, there's your wireless access point, right? We just created another one. So with the wireless access point, you need the terminal, okay? So to get the terminal, you need to first create a wireless terminal. Let's go over that as well. Where is the terminals? So there's a wireless terminal there, and there's a crafting terminal right there. Okay, so the wireless terminal is, if you've made the wireless access point, you already know how to make the receiver. So that's okay. You just need to know how to make, excuse me, an ME, an ME terminal. Doing that is the same as these terminals that are on the outside here. So once you've made the extra terminals, you should know how to do this. So it's just illuminated panel, logic processor, formation core, and annihilation core, right? Fairly simple. So once you do that, the only thing you're going to have to add to this is you're going to have to make a craft for a dense energy cell. Okay, dense energy cell is just made up of energy cells with a calculation process. The energy cell is then, of course, for certain quartz gems and some flux dust and a quantum or quartz glass, right? Very simple to make, just quartz surrounded by some dust. Okay. Once you do that, you make this. Okay, you get a wireless terminal. That's great. With the wireless terminal, ignore everything from here down because you can't see that. It's just for viewing, right? If you just want to use it to pull stuff out and use stuff, that's great, but you cannot craft with it. You need a crafting terminal. So the crafting terminal is literally a wireless terminal, which you've just made, a crafting table, and a calculation processor. So very, very simple, right? Very, very simple. Right? You would just grab all that stuff, put it in your crafting thing, and you'd be done with it. Once you get it and you try to access it, it'll tell you that there's no network. Okay? The reason for that is you have to open up your wireless access point once it's connected to somewhere on your network, and you have to grab it and just drag it onto the top, and it'll pop down here. That means now it is linked. See on the bottom there where it says linked? Yeah. It has to be linked. And any other mods that need to use your AE inventory, for example, building gadgets, you can put building gadgets in here, the building gadget tool. And once it's linked, you can start using the inventory you have, and you don't have to keep anything on your person, which is really cool, right? The only downside is wireless access points don't let you go that far by default. So if I go all the way over here, so just to the end of here, I'm out of range. Uh-oh. So I can't even access my stuff at this distance. So if we go back over here, okay, and we put this thing here, and we grab our wireless boosters, okay, the wireless boosters are very simple. Flux dust, ender dust, and certain quartz, and a little bit of iron. To get ender dust, you need to use some type of a crushing machine. You can use the inscriber as well, too. But, if you've got mechanism or any other crushing utilities, whether it be any other mod that does crushing, you should be able to take an ender pearl and make it into ender dust. But, since you're just running AE here, you should probably just use the inscriber. So the machine you'd want to use is probably the machine that does your processors, okay? Not the ones that make the printed processors, but the one that does the actual processors, because there's no plate in there, right? So you'll just take your ender pearl, drop it in, and it'll come out with a piece of crushed, okay? So once you do that, you make 10 of those. So the maximum for the machine, so the maximum you can have in here is 10 of them. Okay. With other mods, there's things called infinity boosters that you can make, which make it so that the range is infinite, right? Some of them are infinite in your world. Some of them are infinite for dimensions. So yeah, let's do this. Let's add our wireless boosters in there. So it boosts it from 16 to 47. Which is not too bad. It's not the greatest, but it's not too bad. So if we go all the way over here, we can still use our system. We back up a little bit more, we can still use our system. If we back up a little bit more, we're out of range. Okay, so it's somewhere around here that we get our wireless. There we go, right there. So we're about halfway, which is not too shabby, right? So all you'd have to do is when you're running your AE lines, you'll just have to have one that's a split that you can put another wireless access point on top of, right? And give that a couple boosters as well too, and then you can extend your wireless range to wherever you want. Okay, fairly simple. It's not a hard thing to build. It's actually quite easy, and it helps you quite a bit. So if I'm over here doing some stuff and oh look, I need a piece of cobblestone, I don't have to go run back over there. I can just open this up and grab whatever it is I need out of here. But if I need to make, say, a furnace over here, I don't want to have to go over there, make a furnace, and then run all the way back. I can just come in here, make a furnace, and now it's on me, right? So you can do stuff wherever you want by just having your wireless terminal. The nice thing too as well is you can take your wireless terminal. If I can do this here, no, I can't. I don't have the Curios stuff installed, but when you have the Curios installed, you can actually put the wireless crafter on your person, and then you can just hit a hotkey on your keyboard, and you can open up your wireless crafter without having to have it in your inventory here. It'll be on your actual person, right? I don't have that mod installed right now, so we're not going to have that. So yeah. So that's going to be the end of wireless. So as you need to expand wireless, just create a new wireless access point, grab a couple boosters, put them down, and then your wireless is, extended another 50 meters, right? So that's kind of awesome. Next on our list is going to be the quantum gateway. Okay, let's remove these guys here. Okay, so the quantum link chamber. Okay, you're going to need singularities. I have a couple in the network already, right? So let's just drop one in here. Okay, we're going to need a little bit of ender dust to do this, and we're going to need a piece of, was it quartz or redstone? I don't remember. So the uses for this in world, so the explosion. Yeah, so we just need the ender dust, okay, and a piece of TNT. Right, TNT is very simple to make. You can either make the large one or the small one. It's really up to your choice, right? Depending on what you use, depends on what you're going to need, either an ender pearl or ender dust, right? Or actually, no, they're both the same. It doesn't really matter. I thought it was different, but it's not. So yeah, let's get ourselves a piece of TNT. Okay, I think I should have the stuff. I don't have any gunpowder, of course not. Okay, so let me just do this quickly. Okay, so that turned on. All right, so I'll just give myself a piece of TNT. Do I have flint and steel? I do not. Let me just grab that too. All right, so so you start off with a singularity, okay? You need to get a quantum entangled singularity, okay? This allows you to do the quantum stuff that you need to do. This is all advanced AE, so this is not going to show us that stuff. But you can look in the guide, right? So when you look at one of these, you can hit G, and it'll tell you what it is and what it's used for. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's go right about here. Okay, so we're going to put down our TNT. I'm sorry, sheep, you don't want to come over here. All right, and we're going to drop our singularity and drop our ender. We're going to back away. We're going to use our flint and steel. We're going to explode that, and the two of them are going to do their thing. Okay, and we should see, there it is, right there, an entangled singularity. Quantum entangled singularity. So with those things, okay, once you go ahead and build your little quantum ring, okay, so you have the quantum rings on the outside, and then on the inside you have the link chamber, which is the glass piece, okay? You're going to right click on that, and you're going to right click, and you're going to put one of them in each side. So you can only do two, okay? So for each set, you need to do another two. So you need to go and explode that again, okay? So where I've done mine is way over there. You can just barely see it in the distance, okay? So running a cable from here to all the way over there would be very, very costly for AE. right? The amount of drain that you would have would probably double your power usage. Not a good way to do it. But to use one of these quantum things, right, you can transfer all of that with the cables to here without having to run a single cable from way over there, right? So if I go ahead and do I have another one of these on me? I do not. Okay, so let me just get myself one of these. So if I come over here and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so I want to build a little base or, you know, a new little farm or something over here. If I use my wireless terminal, well, of course, it's out of range. You know, I'm way out from where my stuff is, right? But once you build this and you link it up, so I'll show you on the other side too. There's a cable that's actually plugged into the side of it. We now have 0 of 32 channels here, okay? So we can do the same thing here that we did over there with the P2P stuff, right? As long as that cable that's hooked up to the back right over there in the distance has enough channels that we can use, right? Each one of these large ones, okay, not the small ones here, but the large ones, is a face for you to use for cables. So you could have multiple of these dense cables hooked up so that you could run stuff over this way, stuff up, stuff down, wherever you really want to, right? And if you want to have your AE system connected up, so see right now it's 0 of 32 channels. Oh wait, you're rude. Pop down on a cable or on a P2P network or however you want. Now we're using 1 of 32 channels. It's being transferred through. So if you want to use your wireless crafting, look at that. You have full access to everything that was in your system. So all your cobblestone, your stone, your smelting. If you've got patterns in there to smelt, like say diorite into, you know, polished, or you know, you've got some more copper, so you were mining over here, you can drop the copper in there and have it automatically smelted, or whichever way you want to do it, right? So it's kind of a neat addition. You can use this, I believe, through dimensions as well too. So it doesn't matter where you do it. So if you want to go to the Aether or the End or the Nether, you can bring your system with you. Unless, of course, you have other mods, which will give you an infinity booster, which then on your wireless tablet, you don't even need to worry about that. You don't need this stuff anymore. But this comes by default in a applied Energistics. So, yeah. So we'll come back home, all right, and then we'll look over here. I'll show you the cable. So this cable is hooked up into basically the same spot, just the other side, and it comes down here, so you can see that it's using 1 of 32 channels, and it comes into this area here, which is then using 5 of 32 channels. So you would have a bunch of channels left over that you can use that coming from this, right? And we can connect multiple ports up to this, so we have multiple channels, right? Or you could make your ME controller a lot larger and have multiple cables coming in here of their own 32s. So you'd have a lot more resources to use over there, right? And that's really about it. There are a couple more machines. Applied Energistics. Okay. There is the static linker. I'm not sure what that actually does. I'm guessing it's like an anchor of some type that you can use. I've never used this. An A2 network needs to be chunk loaded for any of its devices to function. If only some of it had loaded. Maybe not to function correctly, but a spatial linker solved this. It force loads the chunks that its network occupies. So a single cable extending across multiple chunk borders is enough to load. Okay, so that's what it is. It's a chunk loader. That's pretty cool. Okay. So you can use these to load chunks in other areas. So right now, that chunk over there is not loaded, right? It's just there. It's just showing up in the distance. It's not loaded because we're too far from it. But if I took one of those spatial anchors, I could throw it over there and it would be active. So that wireless access point is no longer active anymore. So it wouldn't show up on the network if I looked for it, right? Because that chunk is no longer used or no longer active. And maybe that's active. I don't know. But something farther away wouldn't be active, right? So that's what the spatial anchor's for, right? It loads those that are anything that's connected to that cable. So if I go and run that cable 500,000 blocks that way, or 1,000 blocks that way. Put a dimensional or a quantum ring over there. It'll load those chunks over there that are that have machines in them. That's pretty cool. I've never actually used that before because um, most of the time we use the FTB chunks to load areas that we need loaded, right? And that's generally what you do with modding packs. If you need an area loaded, you use the tools that are there. Um, most utility, this would be useful for like this type of world where I don't have a map manager. I mean, I do, but if I didn't have an actual map manager with FTB chunks, and I just wanted to play more, basic Minecraft, but with a storage system. So that would be kind of useful for that. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else we haven't covered. Like there's a bunch of the energy cards and stuff like that. Energy cards are used for transferring energy through your network. So if you wanted to, instead of running new cables for, say, mechanism, you could hook your system up with an energy acceptor, which is a block. Where is it? Right there, energy acceptor. Okay. Did I give myself one of those? Yes. Okay. So I could take an energy acceptor block. I could throw it here. It would connect, right? And then I could plug my mechanism cable into this. And then I could use these cables to transfer power so I don't have to have an extra cable set running through. Some people like that for being clean. When I generally play Minecraft, I have this is not typical of me, right? I usually make a basement. Right? And my basement is where all my cables go. So I'll have, say for instance, this will be, do I have a mechanism cable on me? I do. Okay. So what I will have is I'll have my mechanism cable come from the bottom. And then say on the other side, I will have, I don't have one on me. I will have my AE cable coming up like this. So the most that you'll see on my worlds is you'll have a cable coming up here and a cable coming up here. Sometimes I make a mess and, you get the typical dire wire, right? Where you've got cables all over the place. But I don't mind the look of cables. I think it adds to the aesthetics of your base because you're showing, you've got power, you've got network, all that great stuff. And I build big. I don't build small. Compressing all this stuff here really hurts my eyes. I like having stuff everywhere because you're in Minecraft. You own everything. Basically, you own everything. You just have to defend it from zombies and skeletons and whatever else is in your world. So as long as you can do that, then you have no problems. And the occasional cow or chicken that decides to invade. Other than that, I don't think there's any other machines that we really haven't covered. Like this is the vibration chamber is just a generator, for AE power. The dense energy cells, no, I've never really used them other than for building wireless access points or, quantum stuff. Like I've never actually used them by themselves. We covered the compass, different things that you need to make. The fluid cell housing is just the same as the data ones, or as there's the item ones. It's just for fluid. You have the spatial storage stuff. I've never touched that. I know some quests make you do it for mod packs, but that's, specific to those quests. So generally in regular Minecraft, you don't need to use them. Other than for quests and, completion status. But I've never actually used them. And then portable item cells, right? So some people like to take things with them, like the item cells with the item workbench, or I can't remember what the portable thing is. But you can bring, storage along with you, right? So that's kind of cool and all, but most times people just use backpacks. I know some of these can get quite large, right? 20,000, so that's pretty good, but it requires energy. So you have to find yourself some way to charge it up, I guess. You have charged staffs, you've got a bunch of the weapons and stuff like that. But yeah, So we've basically covered anything. If there is anything that I did not cover and you want me to cover from applied energistics, not extended AE or advanced AE, right? Just from applied energistics, if there's something that I've missed or didn't explain well enough, put it down in the comments and I can do another video on that or update this video with another part. Okay? So guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something as well too. So I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me. It helps the channel. And we'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.